Gopi Jana Vallabha Girit Varadari Yasoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yasoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yasoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yasoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yasoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bo Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Thank you, Kitty. Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Good morning. Dr. Dave. All right. So, reading from Srimad Bhagavatam. If I can find it. Where are you, Srimad Bhagavatam? I know you're here somewhere. Here you are. Database. All right. So, this morning, we're reading from Canto 6, Prescribed Duties for Mankind. And the chapter is number 5. No, all right? Am I right? Yep. It's 5. Narada Muni cursed by Prajapati Daksha. Very intense chapter. And my assignment, hang on, I gotta find Rishtadumna's note. Here we go. Is there he is. Okay. Canto 6, Chapter 5, text 21 through 33. So we'll need some help reading, please. Jai. And text 23 will be our focus. All right.
Sukadeva Goswami continued, "My dear king, after hearing the instructions of Narada, the Haryavasyas, the son of Prajapati, Daksha, were finally convinced. They all believed in this instruction and reached the same condition and conclusion. The same conclusion, my apologies. Having accepting him as their spiritual master, they circumnavulated that great sage and followed the path by which one never returns to this world."
Text 22. I'll read. The 7 musical notes sa, ar, ga, ma, pa, da, and ni are used in musical instruments, but originally they come from the Samaveda. The great sage Narada vibrates sounds describing the pastimes of the Supreme Lord. By such transcendental vibrations, such as Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, he fixes his mind at the lotus feet of the Lord. Thus, he directly perceives Rishikesh, the master of the senses. After delivering the Haryasvas, Narada Muni continued traveling throughout the planetary systems, his mind always fixed at the lotus feet of the Lord.
The Haryashvas, the sons of Prajapati Daksha, were well-behaved, cultured sons, but unfortunately, because of the instructions of Narada, they deviated from the order of their father. When Daksha heard the news which was brought to him by Narada, he began to lament.
Although you didn't finish, Prabhu.
Although he was the father of such good sons, he had lost them all. Certainly this was lamentable.
Very good. Thank you. Text 24.
When Prajapati Daksha was lamenting for his lost children, Lord Brahma pacified him with instructions, and thereafter Daksha begot 1,000 more children in the womb of his wife Panchajani. This time his sons were known as the Savalsvas.
Nice. Text 25.
In accordance with their father's order to beget children, the second group of sons also went to the end of that.
Okay. I'll read. Sorry, Mish Bhagwan, thank you. In accordance with their father's order to beget children, the second group of sons also went to Narayana Saras, the same place where their brothers had previously attained perfection by following the instructions of Narada. Undertaking great vows of austerity, the Shavalasvas remained at that holy place. Text 26. Anybody have it on their phone? Not yet. Okay. At Narayana Saras, the second group of sons performed penances in the same way as the first. They bathed in the holy water, and by its touch, all the dirty material desires in their hearts were cleansed away. They murmured mantras, beginning with Omkara, and underwent a severe course of austerities.
For a few months, the sons of Prajapati, Daksha, drank only water and ate only air. Thus, undergoing great austerities, they recited this mantra. Let us offer our respectful obeisances unto Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is always situated in his transcendental abode. Since he is the Supreme Person, Paramahamsa, let us offer our respectful obeisances unto him.
Text 29. Anybody?
O King Parikshit, Narada Muni approached these sons of Prajapati Daksha, who were engaged in tapasya to beget children, and spoke enigmatic words to them, just as he had spoken to their elder brothers.
Text 30. O sons of Daksha, please hear my words of instruction attentively. You are all very affectionate to your elder brothers, the Haryashvas. Therefore, you should follow their path.
Okay. Thank you, Kamal.
A brother aware of the principles of religion follows in the footsteps of his elder brothers. Because of being highly elevated, such a pious brother gets the opportunity to associate and enjoy with demigods like the Maruts, who are all affectionate to their brothers.
Shukadeva Goswami continued, O best of the advanced Aryans, after saying this much to the sons of Prajapati Daksha, Narad Muni, whose merciful glance never goes in vain, left as he had planned. The sons of Daksh followed their elder brothers. Not attempting to produce children, they engaged themselves in Krishna consciousness.
Okay, and I'll read the last one. The Shavalasvas took to the correct path, which is obtainable by a mode of life meant to achieve devotional service or the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Like knights that have gone to the west, they have not returned, even until now. Okay, so focus verse is 23. Om Gana Tarandasya Gana Gana Shalakaya Chakshura Militam Jena Tasma Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Vishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimati Tamal Krishna Goswami Iti Namine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimati Ratapaja Swami Iti Namine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirashe Shinyavani Paskati Desh Training. Okay. And I'll go ahead and say the Sanskrit if anybody wants to try to follow. Nisham Nishamya Putranam Narada Shila Salinam Anvatapatyata Kasochan Suprajastvam Sucham Padam. Okay, word for word, you must say together. Nasham, the loss. Nishamya, hearing of. Putranam, of his sons. Naradat, from Narada. Shalanam, who were the best of well-behaved persons. Anvatapyata, suffered. Ka, Prajapati Daksha. Sochan, lamenting. Suprajasvam, having 10,000 well-behaved sons. Socham, of lamentation. Padam, position. Translation. The Haryasvas, the sons of Prajapati Daksha, were very well-behaved, cultured sons, but unfortunately, because of the instructions of Narada Muni, they deviated from the order of their father. When Daksha heard this news, which was brought to him by Narada Muni, he began to lament. Although he was the father of such good sons, he had lost them all. Certainly, this was lamentable. Purport. The Haryasvas, the sons of Prajapati Daksha, were certainly well behaved, learned, and advanced, and, in accordance with the order of their father, they went to perform austerities to beget good sons for their family. But Narada Muni took advantage of their good behavior and culture to properly direct them not to be involved with this material world, but to use their culture and knowledge to end their material affairs. The Haryasvas abided by the order of Narada Muni. But when news of this was brought to Prajapati Daksha, the Prajapati, instead of being happy with the actions of Narada Muni, was extremely sorrowful. Similarly, we are trying to bring as many young men as possible to the Krishna consciousness movement for their ultimate benefit. But the parents of the young men joining this movement, being very sorry, are lamenting and making counter-propaganda. Of course, Prajapati Daksha did not make propaganda against Narada Muni, but later, as we shall see, Daksha cursed Narada Muni for his benevolent activities. This is the way of materialistic life. A materialistic father and mother want to engage their sons in begetting children, striving for improved economic conditions and rotting in the materialistic life. They are not unhappy when their children become spoiled, useless citizens, but they lament when they join the Krishna consciousness movement to achieve the ultimate goal of life. This animosity between parents and the Krishna consciousness movement has existed since time immemorial. Even Narada Muni was condemned, not to speak of others. Nevertheless, Narada Muni never gives up his mission to deliver as many fallen souls as possible. He continues playing his musical instrument and vibrating the transcendental sound. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Srila Gurudev, Jai Srila Prabhupada, Jai ISKCON Yatra. All right, so the Haryasvas were simply obeying the order of Daksha. And who is Daksha? Does everyone know who Daksha is, who his father is? Okay, his father is who? Okay, so the Prachetas are the father of Daksha. And who is the father of the Prachetas? Prachina Barhi. Jai. And Prachina Barhi's father? Yeah. Did we go back that far? Yeah, Avardhana. Thank you. I love my pundit here. Okay. Thank you so much. Jashnava, it's such a pleasure to have you here in the mornings. So basically, that's why he took birth. Daksha took birth to populate the universe. He was born as a Prajapati. So a Prajapati's main business is to give as many children as possible to his wife or wives and to populate the earth and to see the earth come forward with all these souls that are actually there. Why? Because they're rebellious. They want to rebel. They want to come to the material world and, execute their individual desires. They have their own agenda, so to speak. So rather than putting the agenda of the Supreme Personality of Godhead first, they have what they want to do first. But still, because Daksha is acting in the line of his disciplic succession, and he has his orders, Daksha is very sold out to his service. Of course, he had some problems. He lost his head and then got a goat's head in one birth. And then he came back. And then he came back as a purified version of himself. But then why was he lamenting? So if somebody's child joins the Krishna consciousness movement, for a materialistic person, what does that mean? Can anyone say? If you're really a materialist and your kid joins the Hare Krishna movement, yes. Is there a mic? Because we do have an audience. Oh, can you say that again?
In my case, as we talked about last night, my parents thought I was a brainwashed cult member, throwing away my life to serve some bogus or some, quote, to give the sweat of my brow to someone else.
That's it. How dare you, son? How dare you, daughter? How dare you leave us aside like this? And in fact, I had not a peep from my family. Not a peep until I had my children. Oh, daughter, how are you? I'm like, yeah, right. A lot has happened since I've seen you. And so, yeah, it's an amazing thing how that happened. But truth be told, they did a lot of service, my parents. And they gave a lot of money to the temple. They became very favorable. At first, my mom wanted me deprogrammed, and she was hiring some guys to come kidnap me and, unbrainwash me. And my grandmother stopped her. My grandmother, whose family's from Sweden, she's first generation American from Sweden, and she put her foot down and stopped her one morning at the breakfast table. Marilyn, is she happy? Marilyn, look at this girl. She's been miserable her whole life. Is she happy? And my mom had to admit, yes, she's happy. So then she said, stop this right now. Stop it. She's doing the right thing. So my grandmother gets eternal benefit for stopping that little bus from running me over. Anyway, so all glories to, we called her Waddy, because when we were little, we'd tug on her skirt, and she'd say, Waddy, Waddy, like, what do you want, And so she got the name Waddy. Anyway, so all glories to Waddy. You really saved me. And then later on, Mom and Dad, of course, by then he had been snagged by a born-again Christian who was sure that we were worshiping the devil. No doubt. She was sold to that fact. And, of course, my dad had to listen to her all the time, and he would regurgitate her nonsense, and I would have to, undo it and say, no, it's like this. And then he'd go back to her. And then 6 months later, he'd come back with another argument, and I'd undo that one. His last major argument was, so there's a book out, you got to read it. It's To Hell and Back by so-and-so. I forgot the author. Anyway, and he joined every single group in the United States and all over Europe. He joined all these satellite groups, the Moonies, the whoever's, the ISKCON, all these groups that were out there. And he said that these guys are all lost and they have no answers. And he even joined the Hare Krishnas. Of course, my dad was like really proud, He joined the Hare Krishnas and it's not there. And I said, okay. I listened. I said, Dad, let me ask you a question. And this is Gurudev, because I was really hurt. I was choked up, actually, listening to him, because I knew he had a better brain than this, And I knew this was his second wife talking through him. Anyway, I asked him, Dad, why is it that a group has to put down every single person and group out there before they can accept their own? There's something wrong with that. So why do you have to criticize A to Z before you can accept your place serving God? What is that? And he said, nothing. He couldn't speak. And then after about a minute, I heard a click. He hung up. And 6 months later, I got an apology. He said, daughter, you're right. It's not necessary to hate, to criticize, to malign, to put down, to, be holier than thou before you can accept your own station in life. So that was an incredible experience with Dad, and ever since then he started coming closer and closer to Krishna up until the time of his death, which was in 2010. And that argument happened back in 95, 96. So 14 years later, he's dealing with his own departure. By then, he's actually shouting Hare Krishna. He's in so much pain and agony from Parkinson's that he's actually screaming Hare Krishna. He's just praying to Krishna, Krishna, take me. And actually, 5 years before that happened, he was hearing Om in his heart all day. Om, over and over and over again. He said, Kunti, what is this? Oh, he was calling me by my name. He was not Linda anymore. I was Kunti. Kunti, what is this? I'm saying Om. What is this Om? I said, Dad, that's Krishna. And he said, that's Krishna? I said, yeah, Jesus is Father. He's calling you. He isn't calling you home. So it was really good, and so he actually started feeling some hope. And he was praying to Jesus, and he was praying to Krishna, both at that point. And in between painkillers, he really started getting some realizations. And and ultimately, the long story short is his karma was very bad. He was in a bad nursing home. There are good nursing homes and bad nursing homes. This one dehydrated him to death. So my sister launched a lawsuit, and it didn't go anywhere. They settled out of court, and she said, I will close your business. She's very wealthy. She said, I will close you guys. You will not operate ever again. And so they took it out of court and settled, but she has put it out very wide and clear that do not use these people. So that was his karma. He got so purified at the end of his life. He was in a fetal position, and a few hours before his death, I came and I leaned over him and chanted the Hare Krishna mantra. I put some water on his head and touched Tulsi to his mouth. I couldn't put it in because of the hospital regulations, but he touched it and left his body. Wouldn't let go though until my mother came and forgave him. She said, Jackson, I forgive you. Please let go and go to God. Go to Krishna, go to Jesus. And that was it. And gosh, a few minutes later, he let go. So we should all hope we have a departure that we can get rid of our karma and then just go and be focused. Anyway, so very hard on Daksha. His sons, they left, and it wasn't just one or two, it was 10,000. And Panchajani, you can imagine how his mother felt. Okay, I just gave birth to 10,000 sons and they're gone. Okay, and so now they have another 1,000 sons, Shavalashvas, and they do the same thing. So what can Daksha do? He's so filled with remorse and anger, it's got to go somewhere. It can't, he's not in that position. His heart's not in a pure position where he can just give it to Krishna and surrender himself, because that's not his role. No, it's not his role in this world. It's Narada Muni's role. Narada Muni does that. Now, if he had taken the shelter of Narada Muni's lotus feet, said, Narada, I'm just a hardcore materialist here. Please give me shelter at your lotus feet. Now, that would have been a whole other story, but that's not his story. So, yes, he's building up that Brahma Tejas, because he's not just having wanton copulation with his wife, he's having controlled situation here. It's very controlled, and it's very sattvic, and very, as pure as materialistic situation can be. And so, he's got to do something with all that. Narada Muni, he took advantage of the good behavior of the sons. I took advantage of the good behavior of some girls one time in a bathroom, and I'll never do it again. But I was in the bathroom at Love Field Airport in 1979. I was with Mother Chandravali, and all I did was teach them how to chant Hare Krishna. I said Hare, and they said Hare. I said Krishna, and they said Krishna. And Rama, Rama, all the whole mantra. I said, okay, now let's say it together. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. And they came dancing and singing out of the bathroom. Sure enough, they were little Jewish girls. I had no idea. I just thought they were sweet little girls, And I thought, okay, we'll teach you how to chant Hare Krishna. They went out and they told their dad, Dad, Hare Krishna. So what happens? The dad, he attacks me verbally in the airport and has the police take me away for molesting his daughters in the bathroom. And for 6 hours, I'm undergoing this intense interrogation, lights in the eyes, the whole thing, What did you do to the girls? What did you do to them? I said, I didn't do anything. I just taught them how to pray, And over and over again for 6 hours, I had said the same thing over and over again. Finally, the Dallas Police Department decided I was innocent. They told the man, they said, look, you can go ahead and put her in jail, but in order for you to do that, you have to stay in Dallas. We need you in court tomorrow morning for her arraignment, because we can't put her in jail without you here, because we don't see it. And they talked to the girls individually. They were like 9 years old, And he talked to them individually, and they confirmed, no, we just said God's name, and that was it. So anyway, after that, Chandravali came and scooped me off the floor. You ask Mother Chandravali, if you ever get a chance, how was your time at Love Field with Mother Kunti? She will tell you it was one drama after another. It was such a drama. You have guys spitting in your face as they get off you think they're stopping to talk to you, and no, they spit in your face. And she just had to basically put myself together all the time and screw my head back on, because I just go to the bathroom and start crying. And she'd say, okay, that's enough crying, come out. She'd give me about 10 minutes, 5 minutes, and that was it. So, okay, that's it, no more, come back. Srila Gurudev called Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport the Brillo pad, and he called Dallas Love Field the drill. Because usually you're getting drilled each time you talk to anybody. It was so intense. So I wouldn't trade those days for any amount of money. No way. And I'm very grateful to Mother Chandravali forever. Her lessons and counsel are invaluable. Srila Prabhupada says, and this is my favorite part of the purport, and you probably know which one it is. Similarly, we are trying to bring as many young men as possible to the Krishna consciousness movement for their ultimate benefit. But the parents of the young men joining this movement, being very sorry, are lamenting and making counter propaganda. Of course, Prajapati Daksha didn't make propaganda against Narada Muni, but later, as we will see, Daksha cursed Narada Muni for his benevolent activities. This is the way of materialistic life. So this is Srila Prabhupada. How many times was he besieged by parents? 10,000 disciples or 5,000? How many? So many disciples, and many of those parents, majority of the parents, whoa. I had plans for Johnny and Julie, or, I had plans for them. Wait a minute, what are you doing? You can't take them away from us. This is, our plan has been interrupted. So, anybody have any experiences they want to share about coming to Krishna consciousness? This is, tell me your name again, I'm sorry. This is
your servant, Chandrasekhar.
Chandrasekhar Prabhu. Thank you, Chandrasekhar, go ahead.
A small, tiny anecdote. First of all, just as a small humor or comic relief, Bhakti Charuswami tells the story of how once he was at a Orthodox Jewish-run electronics store in New York sometime, buying some computer, and he walked in his sannyasi robes, Indian body, and the man behind the counter, dressed in his Orthodox Jewish, Polish clothes from the 19th century attire, exclaimed, "Ah, what a relief to see a non-Jewish Hare Krishna."
Not everybody knows that originally there were an awful lot of the early members of the Hare Krishna movement were from Jewish extraction. Many. Something like 7 of the original gurus, I believe, were. Exactly. Thomas Herzig was his birth name. Orange juice.
No, so he's got to say that. Come on. Come on, Mishra Bhagwan, you got to say that in the mic.
For the benefit of the online community.
A group of Jewish sannyasis is called orange juice.
Orange juice. I love this. Anyway, yeah, we have Srila Prabhupada. Any other personal experiences with Srila Prabhupada joining the movement?
Well, with my joining, you see, actually it's interesting how, and I'd like to make a comment if it's okay, regarding Prabhupada's use of language and the context in which he made those comments, like the use of the word, for example, joining, right? Young men. So there's like this somewhere, almost like there was this double conversion experience where not only do you accept the theology and basic practice of Vaishnavism, but you also have no choice but to literally physically join a temple, basically like a monk,
right.
So they're like this forced almost, or very high pressure, forced monasticism as a prerequisite to simply accept Krishna in your life. And I think that a lot of parents would have perhaps complained less if a lot of their children had been perhaps encouraged, like we saw Tamal Krishna Maharaj doing, maybe 10 years before he started passing away here in Dallas, as one of the forerunners of this change of strategy to follow the Bhagavatam's, that famous 10:14:3 verse, Tanistitaha Shutigatam Tanuvama Gyane Prayasamudapasyana, while remaining established in one's socially accepted situation. Personally, I was bullied into dropping out of Cornell University. And that cost me, technically, as Krishna says in the 13th chapter of the Gita, the soul alone is responsible for the experience of happiness or distress in one's life. So, we can't blame anyone or be angry at the instruments of one's own karma. But in terms of an immediate visible cause, that, you know, bullying and encouraging to drop out of Cornell University cost me a the equivalent today, $9 million at the time, inheritance, right? So I can sort of speak to, so on the one hand, we see this phenomena of, you know, young men being encouraged to become brahmacharis and sannyasis, but at the same time, we can sort of identify a little bit and have a little bit of sympathy for some of the parents or some of the government, you know, agencies who, you know, labeled us as cult members and this and that, because there were, in effect, you know, cases of just well-meaning but, you know, really bad advice in terms of the conversion experience of certain members of our society. So it is what it is, but now moving forward, we see a shift in preaching where we're more and more telling people, listen, you know, if you want to be a monk, great, but know that Krishna consciousness is certainly, and even you know, not only available, but certainly encouraged in your own social context, within your own career. Don't drop out of college. Just, you know, put Krishna into your life, and I think that's a sustainable type of, you know, over decades and centuries type of preaching.
Yukta Vairagya.
So, as I discussed with our God brothers and sisters last night and our disciples, Istagosti, that in 1979, when I joined in Chicago, and some of you may know the mood in the Chicago temple was so intense. I was meant to be an airport book distributor, heaving out the karmis, and Tamal Krishna Goswami, one of his first questions, the first meeting, will your parents be inimical? I said, oh yeah. And so he told me, keep your beautiful long hair, go visit your parents, see them for the holidays, keep your car. Krishna gave you a nice car, use it in Krishna's service. So I was a long-haired brahmachari with a car against the tide of the heavy airport distributors who, you know, anyway, we won't go into. Some of our bad practices at that time did not leave a good impression with the public. During one of these visits, my mom and I sat down to watch an anti-cult movie, some of which was true, historically accurate, unfortunately. And I, to our guru's credit, he was at the vanguard of shifting the tide in our movement. And when I had difficulty, because I was under the pressure of some of these heavies, I left one night, as we used to do at that time. You just left in the middle of the night because you couldn't explain what was going on. The cognitive dissonance was quite intense. So therefore, when I returned to meet Tamal Krishna Goswami a day or so later, he said, you can live outside. You can, you know, I had an exquisite relationship with a fiancée. And he said, you can call her down, you can live outside the temple, practice Krishna consciousness as your religion. That never even occurred to me. I didn't know that was possible at the time.
Yeah, there you go. I saw that shift. It went from being all in or nothing to all in using everything in Krishna's service. I saw that. I witnessed it. It happened, I joined in 78, and then I saw it shift all the way to 88. I saw how it, over 10 years, the whole shift. It was amazing. I became more enlivened, and it took away so many doubts when that happened. I gave away everything when I joined, and Srila Gurudev actually came to the ashram, and he would see the women and the men as they would go out on Sankirtan. He would look at their appearance, and he called me over. He said, Kunti, you're wearing that? You gave all your clothes away? And you're wearing that? I said, okay, I'll try to change. You know, I had some, you know, frumpy clothes on, and he said, no. You know, use these things in Krishna's service. Everything. Joyful.
Another outrageous thing I recall him saying, I think it might have been his very last Vyasa Puja here in 2001. He said, I'm paraphrasing, he said, generally at this time, women have generally reached equality with men in most regards. And he said, in the future, the women will do even more to spread Krishna consciousness. Yesterday's program, almost all the services were led expertly by women. And it was just a sublime day to attend the morning program. That was a brand new experience for me after 48 years.
Jai. Thank you. Thank you so much. Anybody else? In closing, we've got 8:22 and love to hear from everybody. Kamala, you have anything you want to share? Kamala is a very wonderful devotee. She comes from another tradition, but she brings Krishna consciousness into her life. She has her very favorable. Her husband is very favorable. Why? We're not telling her to give up anything. We're saying keep it. She's just adding Krishna. Yeah, it's beautiful.
I love the guidance to bring Krishna into every part of your life so that the children are not necessarily alienated from their roots. I think that's really, really important.
Very nice.
I think it will make them stronger as they discover Krishna through their own life experiences.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be painful.
Yeah, Krishna consciousness is inclusive, not exclusive. And unfortunately, it can get that exclusive deal going on sometimes. It's an unfortunate thing that happens. It's not, I don't think devotees want it that way.
Right.
But
it's a very, I think the stage where the temples are at now in the US is very favorable to grow to the wider community. So maybe when a movement first begins, these are maybe the birthing pains. So maybe that's another way of looking at it. That when that movement entered the US, it was more intense. But now it can grow and blossom in different ways and maybe, in stronger ways.
it's like the three stages. You have the neophyte and the, what is it? Kanishta, Madhyam, Uttama. So you see how devotees, they grow and they blossom into that Uttama. And we have so many Uttama Bhaktas in our community here. Jai.
I need to correct myself.
Oh, yes.
It was
please.
actually the Sunday programs, morning program, the Sunday Feast lecture, and then the Sunday Feast arti,
There
all
you go.
conducted wonderfully by women.
There you go. Yeah. I was
To a packed house.
To a packed house, which explains why I'm not
An ecstatic packed house.
Because I'm scared of crowds. Anyway, yes. Manjari Gopika.
Hare Krishna. I just want to share my experience coming to Krishna consciousness. I've been very fortunate because my parents were never inimical towards it. I grew up in a very pious Catholic family. They're still very religious, my parents and my brother. But I just dropped little hints in the beginning, like I was taking yoga classes, and then I started going to 26th 2nd Avenue reading Bhagavad Gita, and I would just, when I'd call my parents, I'd say, oh, I gotta go, I'm going to Bhagavad Gita class, and just like let that sit with them. And my brother, at first, he thought it was kind of strange. He's like, you're reading the Hindu Bible? And I said, it's about yoga, and you know I love yoga. But then just over time, they just got used to it. And then I met my husband, who everybody knows is such a wonderful devotee. And they were so enamored with him, just in his manners. And so as they've come into contact with devotees and they've come to the temple, they've always appreciated how kind and respectful and welcoming everyone is to them. They love prasadam. They, I think, appreciate the discipline that we have in our lives with our vows. And so that just created a favorable impression for them. So I just want to say to everyone how important it is the way you interact with non-devotees, because you never know who's here at the temple and who they belong to, but everything you do really matters. Hare Krishna.
Beautiful. Anything else? Go Kulanana, anything?
Talking about Jewish people, when I lived in the temple, one of my main services was to receive the guests. So every day back in Mumbai, there would be hundreds of visitors, especially the foreign visitors. They would be coming in. And I distinctly remember whenever any Jewish, the screw people, they would come in hundreds. They would come. They would be so much favorable, and they would dance with us. They loved dancing. They were the only ones I always saw, the Jewish. They always loved dancing in the kirtan.
Fact.
And it happened so many times. I just can't count them. So many times it happened.
I was a reservationist at American Airlines for 22 years, and every single call, and I'm not, without exception, Jewish person was ecstatic. That's all I have to say. It was so ecstatic. And of course, if I had the mercy of getting a devotee on the phone, which happened, Haribo, Haribo, that was great. Supervisor wanted to know, what is Haribo? It's a greeting. Chant the holy names. Jai. Anything else? Mr. Bhagwan, you got anything?
I want to.
Hello. Haribo.
I mean, I heard all the amazing things that Yashomati Nandan Prabhu said, I feel like we are doing all these nice remembrances of Srila Gurudev and all of these. I mean, I feel we should encourage the other congregation members, those who don't know much about what Srila Gurudev did. And he was such an exemplary right-hand person for Srila Prabhupada. And we should encourage them to also attend or hear these Zoom meetings or so most of the time it's on YouTube. I think pretty much every time on Zoom it's on YouTube. That's one observation that I thought I'll just bring up.
Thank you.
And the other thing is, another thing that came to my mind is like in the initial days, like everyone was full time. When Srila Prabhupada started the movement, I think what I've heard is that was a unique situation because Srila Prabhupada had only this much time and he needed, that big task force to establish the ISKCON movement.
That's right.
So I thought I'll just...
Thank you. Beautiful. Thank you. You want to add anything?
It's hard to look back on the days when we were distributing hundreds of thousands of Prabhupada's books, and everybody was a book distributor. It doesn't seem appropriate to talk about like those were dark days, bad times, because I don't think they really were. Now we have so many members. We had a big picnic out in Wolf last week. And you can be in this temple for months and not even hear the word book distribution except for maybe during the class. So is it kind of like an attack by the demons to try to make us feel bad for spreading Krishna consciousness, like we've disturbed people?
What was the question?
Is that like an attack from people who are opposed to Krishna consciousness to try to make us feel bad about doing our practicing our service, distributing Prabhupada's books?
Srila Gurudev made a very decisive decision in the 80s. He didn't want to stop book distribution because, as you can see, Mother Indranila Mani, I mean, she was #1 in the world for years running. And definitely there was not a stopping of book distribution. It was just a different tack, a different approach. Because the airports were giving us a bad name. Airport book distribution was a bad deal. I understand it. And I got to carry her books. So, and actually got to help out. And I know that what he wanted was to change the format. So it's not bad. And here's a person who encourages book distribution all the time, right here. And he's, Sada Nandini is supporting his efforts, and if you want to get out on book distribution, he's the person to talk to. He'll get you hooked up and get you out there. I mean, it's wonderful. I strongly urge book distribution. If you're feeling low or whatever, go distribute books, and you'll get an infusion of Krishna consciousness that you never dreamed possible. So I strongly urge it. That's my humble response. I don't think it was stopped because it was a response to their thing. It was just we needed a new avenue. We needed a new venue. That's all. Yeah. Anything else? Okay. Thank you so much for being here. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Srila Gurudev Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Gaur Premanandi. Hari Hari Bol. Vanchakopatruvischa. Kripya Sindhivivicha. Padidinam Pamibhya. Vaishnavivya.
करो कृपा भरौ कृपा भरौ भुवि भुव मारव अंतरक वंदे रूप सनातन रघुजुगौ श्री चारणै पुनः सद्धर्म संस्थापक लोकानां हितकारिणं त्रिभुवने मन्नं शरण करो विचारणैकन पुनः सद्धर्म संस्थापक लोकानां हितकारिणं त्रिभुवने मन्नं शरण विचारणैकन पुनः तद्धर्म संस्थापक लोकानां हितकारिणं त्रिभुवने मन्नं शरण श्री चैतन्य कृपा भरौ लोकानां हितकारिणं त्रिभुवने मन्नं शरण करो विचारणैकन पुनः करूं राधा कृष्ण राधा कृष्ण पदारविन्दौ भजनामृतौ राधा कृष्ण पदारविन्दौ भजना नन्देन मत्तालिकं वन्दे रूप सनातनं रघुजुगौ